Ragnarok. Ragnarok is the Norse version of a season finale where the writers decided to kill off the entire main cast. It all gets kicked off by the death of the god Baldur. This triggers the Fimbulwinter, a brutal 3-year winter with no summer, and society just collapses. Then the wolves, Skull and Hati, finally catch and eat the sun and the moon, plunging the world into darkness. This is the signal for the monsters to break free, including the giant wolf Fenrir and the trickster god Loki. The final battle is an unwinnable mess. Odin gets eaten by Fenrir, and Thor kills the world's serpent but dies from its venom. Finally, the fire giant Surtur just burns the whole world. But here's the twist. It's not the end. It's a cosmic reboot. A new green world emerges, and 2 humans who hid in the world tree get to repopulate the Earth. Armageddon. Armageddon is the original one-time-only pay-per-view event between Team God and Team Satan. It's the grand finale of human history, as described in the Book of Revelation. The opening act is the 4 horsemen: conquest, war, famine, and death, unleashed to wreck the place. Then the main villain, a charismatic global leader called the Antichrist, rises to power. This all leads to a period of global suffering called the Tribulation, which ends when Jesus returns to lead God's army. The final battle is a swift, decisive victory. The Antichrist and his followers are yeeted directly into a lake of fire. But the real twist? The book was originally coded political commentary against the Roman Empire. The Antichrist was likely a diss track aimed at Emperor Nero. It was a promise to persecuted Christians that their oppressors would get their divine comeback. The Kali Yuga. So you've got the total reboot and the final judgment. But what if the end of the world is just regularly scheduled maintenance? In Hindu cosmology, the universe is on a 4-stage subscription plan, and the Kali Yuga is the final bug-filled beta test before the system crashes. We are supposedly in this age right now. It's an era of darkness where virtue is at an all-time low. Rulers act like merciless thieves. Wealth becomes more important than wisdom, and deceit is the standard for success. Society just morally disintegrates. But just when things are at their absolute worst, the god Vishnu shows up in his 10th and final form, Kalki, a mighty warrior on a white horse with a blazing sword. But here's the twist. Kalki isn't here to judge everyone. He's here as a cosmic cleanser. He purges the world of the corrupt rulers, not to end the universe, but to hit the reset button, starting the whole cycle over with a new golden age. The 5 Suns. The Aztec universe had a worse track record than a failed startup, with 4 previous versions that were complete disasters. Seriously, the first world was eaten by jaguars, the second was wrecked by hurricanes, the third got a rain of fire, and the fourth was drowned in a 52-year flood. The Aztecs believed they were living in the 5th sun, and it was prophesied to be destroyed by massive earthquakes. But here's the wild part. They believed it was their job to stop it. They thought the sun god needed a constant supply of energy to keep moving, and the most potent energy source was human blood. So, ritual sacrifice wasn't just a ceremony, it was literally the fuel that kept the apocalypse from happening. It was an apocalypse where humanity had to pay the cosmic energy bill every single day. The Great Flood. The Great Flood is the original and most remixed apocalypse story, the Wash Away Your Sins world tour. The plot shows up everywhere. Noah in the Bible, a guy named Utnapishtim in Mesopotamia who was saved because the gods thought humans were too noisy, Deucalion in Greek myth, and Manu in Hinduism. The formula is always the same. A god gets angry at human corruption, decides to hit the reset button with a flood, but warns one righteous person to build a boat and save a few survivors. But the twist is, this might not be just a story. It's likely a cultural memory. The end of the last ice age caused real-life, catastrophic mega-floods all over the world, which were probably mythologized into one epic global event. Al-Qiyamah. The Islamic Day of Judgment, or Al-Qiyamah, is a blockbuster finale with returning guest stars and a definitive end to the series. The lead-up involves major signs, including the arrival of a redeemer figure called the Mahdi, followed by a powerful false messiah known as the Dajjal, basically the Antichrist. The climax is the return of Isa, or Jesus. In Islamic tradition, he wasn't crucified but was raised to heaven, and he comes back to defeat the Dajjal. After Isa dies a natural death, the true end begins, leading to a final judgment. The twist is that this story integrates figures from Christianity but redefines their roles. Jesus returns not as a deity, but as a great prophet here to correct the record and take down the ultimate deceiver. Freshokareti. The Zoroastrian apocalypse isn't an end of the world. It's more like a divine final renovation where the entire universe gets a total scrub down. It's one of the oldest end-time stories and features a final savior called the Zoroastrian. He shows up and resurrects everyone, both the good and the wicked. Then, all of humanity has to walk through a river of molten metal. Here's the twist. This is the judgment. For the righteous, it feels like wading through warm milk. For the sinful, it's an agonizing burn that scours away every last bit of their evil. Evil isn't just defeated. It gets power-washed out of existence, leaving the universe sparkling clean. The coming of Maitreya. The Buddhist apocalypse isn't a fiery judgment. It's what happens when humanity collectively forgets the password to enlightenment. In this view, time is cyclical, and the world ends when the teachings of the current Buddha are completely forgotten. The great catastrophe isn't sin, it's just mass ignorance. When humanity is totally lost in materialism and greed, the next Buddha, Maitreya, is reborn on Earth. But here's the twist. He's not a warrior, he's a teacher. He doesn't come to fight. He comes to reinstall the operating system of truth, reminding everyone of the notes they were supposed to be taking all along. It's the only apocalypse where the world is saved not by a battle, but by a new teacher showing up to reteach the class. But what happens when the apocalypse story itself is a mystery? The Hopi Day of Purification. The Hopi apocalypse is the story of humanity moving between worlds, kind of like leveling up. But you can fail the mission right at the end. The belief is we're living in the fourth world, and it's set to be destroyed by human greed and corruption. The end is foretold by 9 signs, like cobwebs in the sky, power lines, and a gourd of ashes, the atomic bomb. The final signal is the appearance of the blue star Kachina in the heavens. But here's the plot twist. The authenticity of this popular prophecy is super controversial. Researchers can't find any mention of a blue star Kachina before it was published by a non-Hopi author in the 1960s. It's likely a modern mashup, blending traditional Hopi beliefs with a Christian-style ending, the serpent of darkness. In ancient Egypt, the apocalypse wasn't some far-off prophecy. It was a nightly appointment you couldn't miss. The story was that the sun god, Ra, sailed his boat through the underworld every single night. And every single night, a colossal serpent of chaos named Apep would try to eat him. If Apep succeeded, the sun wouldn't rise the next morning, and the universe would just blink out of existence. The world was on the brink of ending every 24 hours. But here's the twist. Ra's #1 bodyguard wasn't a hero of order. It was Set, the god of chaos himself. His violent nature was the only thing strong enough to protect the cosmos from an even greater threat, the Millerites. The Millerites were the original, "I'm quitting my job to wait for the apocalypse" movement back in 1844. A preacher named William Miller did some complex biblical math and predicted that the second coming of Christ would happen on October 22nd. About 100,000 of his followers, the Millerites, fully bought in. They sold their homes, gave up their farms, and waited for the big day. When the day came and went with nothing happening, it became known as the Great Disappointment. But the twist is, they didn't just give up. A core group rebranded the failure. They said the date was right, but the event was wrong. Christ didn't come to Earth. He just moved to a new office in heaven to start the final judgment paperwork. From a battle that happened every night to a battle that never happened at all. But what happens when the doomsday warning doesn't come from a prophet but from a scientist? The 1910 Comet Panic. The 1910 Halley's Comet Panic is what happens when science, mixed with media hype, creates the world's first cosmic gaslighting event. Astronomers detected poison gas in the comet's tail, and the Earth was set to fly right through it. A French astronomer then told the New York Times that this gas could snuff out all life on the planet. Naturally, people freaked out. They stuffed keyholes with paper to seal their homes and bought useless comet pills and anti-comet umbrellas. But the real twist was the local grift. Bartenders started claiming that drinking enough whiskey could protect you from the gas. It was the one time in history where "I'm just going to the bar until this all blows over" was considered a legitimate survival strategy. The 2012 Mayan calendar. The 2012 apocalypse was basically a doomsday party that the guests of honor, the Maya, never even knew they were hosting. The whole scare was based on the fact that a 5,125-year cycle in the Mayan long count calendar was ending on December 21st. People freaked out, bought survival kits, and watched that one John Cusack movie. But the big twist is that the Maya never predicted an apocalypse. For them, time was cyclical. The end of a cycle was just like New Year's Eve, a time for renewal, not annihilation. In fact, archaeologists have found Mayan astronomical charts that map out planetary movements for another 7,000 years, proving they fully expected the world to keep going. The Maya sent out an evite for a new beginning, and the rest of the world thought it was a funeral. Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate was a UFO cult that took the idea of graduating from Earth a little too literally. The group, led by a guy named Marshall Applewhite, believed they were elite souls who had to shed their earthly vehicles, their bodies, to ascend to a higher plane of existence on a UFO. In 1997, they got their signal, the Hale-Bopp comet. Applewhite convinced his followers that a massive alien spacecraft was hiding in the comet's wake, coming to pick them up. But here's the twist. To get on the ship, they believed they had to willingly die. 39 members committed a meticulously planned mass suicide. Found dressed in identical black uniforms with Heaven's Gateway team patches, their bags packed and ready for the trip. Harold Camping's Rolling Apocalypse. From a group that was tragically certain of their one-way ticket, we go to a guy who kept booking flights for the apocalypse, only to have them get canceled over and over again. Harold Camping was the doomsday predictor who wasn't afraid to hit the snooze button on the apocalypse. He was a Christian radio broadcaster who spent millions on thousands of billboards declaring that Judgment Day was coming on May 21, 2011. His followers quit their jobs and spent their life savings to spread the word. When the day passed and everyone was still here, Camping was flabbergasted. But here's the twist. Instead of admitting he was wrong, he just rescheduled. He announced that May 21st had been a spiritual judgment, and that the real, physical end of the world would happen 5 months later, on October 21st. It was the ultimate patch note for a failed doomsday prediction, the Y2K bug. The Y2K bug was a digital apocalypse caused by programmers in the 70s being too cheap to buy more data storage. To save space, they programmed years with only 2 digits, like 99 for 1999. The fear was that when the clock rolled over to 2000, computers would read 00 as 1900, causing a global meltdown of power grids, banks, and air traffic control. In response, the world spent over $300 billion fixing the code. When January 1st, 2000 arrived, basically nothing happened. And the twist is the debate that still rages. Did we spend a fortune to prevent a disaster? Or was it the most expensive tech support scam in history? Asteroid impact. An asteroid impact is nature's way of playing a game of cosmic billiards with Earth as the corner pocket. A rock just 1 kilometer wide would throw enough debris into the atmosphere to cause an impact winter, blocking sunlight for years and collapsing the global food chain. A 10-kilometer one, like the dinosaur killer, would be a full extinction-level event. We got a tiny preview of this power with the Chelyabinsk meteor explosion over Russia in 2013. But here's the twist. This is one apocalypse we can actually prevent. In 2022, NASA's DART mission successfully crashed a spacecraft into an asteroid and changed its orbit. We officially have a planetary defense system in the works, ready to tell a cosmic bullet to just move over. So we figured out how to dodge a threat from space. But what about one that's brewing right under our feet? Supervolcano. A supervolcano is the Earth reminding us that all our problems are surface level, and it's got much bigger issues brewing deep underground. An eruption from something like the volcano under Yellowstone would be thousands of times larger than any in recorded history. It would trigger a volcanic winter, spewing enough ash and sulfur into the atmosphere to dim the sun, causing global temperatures to plummet and leading to worldwide famine. But here's the terrifying twist. The last known super eruption from Toba about 74,000 years ago might have caused a genetic bottleneck in humanity, meaning it almost wiped our species out once before. Unlike an asteroid, we can't stop this one. We can only watch and wait. AI takeover. The AI apocalypse won't be a war with killer robots like in the movies. It'll be a quiet takeover by an overzealous intern we asked to make paperclips. The real danger isn't a malicious AI that hates us. It's a super intelligent one that's just indifferent. The famous paperclip problem explains it best. If you tell an AI to maximize paperclip production, it might logically decide to turn all the matter on Earth, including us, into paperclips. Here's the twist. It wouldn't kill us out of anger, but because our atoms are a useful resource for its programmed goal. We wouldn't be the enemy, we'd just be in the way of its to-do list. It's the one apocalypse where humanity gets accidentally deleted by a machine that's just trying to do its job a little too well. Gray goo. Grey goo is the sci-fi nightmare where the world is eaten by a planet-sized swarm of microscopic, self-replicating robots. The idea is that we could create a single nanobot designed to build things by consuming matter. If that nanobot is programmed to build a copy of itself, you get an exponential chain reaction. These nanobots would consume all biomass on Earth, plants, animals, people, to create more of themselves, transforming the entire planet into a uniform, lifeless mass of grey goo. The twist is that this wouldn't be a big explosion. It would be a silent, creeping plague, a literal grassroots movement from hell, devouring everything in its path. It's the apocalypse that proves the most terrifying phrase in science isn't eureka, but oops, the heat death of the universe. The heat death is the universe's ultimate, inescapable finale. It's not a bang. It's a slow, cosmic fade to black. The second law of thermodynamics, which basically says that disorder or entropy always increases. The universe will just keep expanding and cooling forever. In about 1 trillion years, no new stars will be born. Trillions of years after that, all existing stars will die. And over googles of years, even black holes will evaporate into nothing. The twist is the final state. The universe will be nothing but a cold, uniform bath of particles near absolute zero. No energy, no change, no life, just a quiet, eternal darkness. It's the one apocalypse that's guaranteed to happen. The zombie apocalypse. The zombie apocalypse is the ultimate survival fantasy, where the biggest problem isn't the walking dead, but the living guy who wants to steal your can of beans. Popularized by George A. Romero and made mainstream by The Walking Dead, these stories are almost never about the zombies. They're about what happens to people when civilization just disappears. The real threat is always other humans, proving that when the rules are gone, we become the real monsters. The twist is that the genre isn't really about fighting monsters at all. It's a test to see who we become when everything is taken away. It's the one apocalypse where you're not just fighting for your life, you're fighting for your last shred of humanity. The nuclear apocalypse. The nuclear apocalypse is the ultimate man-made doomsday, the terrifying result of humanity gaining godlike power and toddler-like self-control. A massive fear during the Cold War. It gave us terrifying movies like The Day After. Later, it evolved into the Judgment Day of the Terminator franchise, where our own AI turns our most powerful weapons against us. And video games like Fallout let you explore the quirky, irradiated wasteland left behind. But the twist is that unlike an angry god or a random asteroid, this one is entirely on us. It's a direct reflection of our own capacity for self-destruction. It's the apocalypse story that serves as a permanent, terrifying reminder not to give the kids the keys to the car. The post-apocalyptic survival story. Let's be real, a small part of us wants to see if we could survive in a world without Wi-Fi and student loans, and that's why post-apocalyptic stories are so popular. Whether it's Mad Max and its violent fights for fuel or the bleak, heartbreaking journey in the road, these stories strip civilization down to its studs. The appeal is a fantasy of self-reliance, where the challenges are simple: find food, find shelter, don't get eaten. But the twist is that the fantasy isn't really about watching the world burn. It's about imagining ourselves as one of the few left to rebuild it. Our obsession with the end of the world is really just an obsession with what we do after everyone else is gone. If you enjoyed this, stick around for the next one. And hey, subscribing wouldn't hurt.